So if you would please introduce yourself and your title and where we're at.
Sure, I'm Doug Greenway. I'm the director of the world's only corn palace, where we're standing today.
So tell me what a corn palace is.
Sure, well, it's an attraction, right? I mean, it brought you folks to Mitchell, and over the years, millions and millions of folks, but this is actually the world's only surviving corn palace. This is the third one in Mitchell. So the first corn palace built in Mitchell was in 1892. And at that time, the intent was to build these grain palaces around the Midwest because every community was trying to grow and bring people to the Midwest. And what better way to do that and say, we can grow enough grain here, it's wasteful. We can build buildings with it. So that was the intent of building a grain palace, or what we now call the corn palace. So Sioux City had one before us, Plankington, South Dakota had one before us, but thanks to city leaders and the railroad, ours is the only one that stuck. So we built a second corn palace in 1907. All the others had been gone by then. They built a bigger one, and as soon as they built it, they realized still not big enough. They were putting 5,000 people in the corn palace, and people were coming from all over the Midwest to see this and celebrate agriculture, because that's what they did here in the fall. Well, as soon as they built the one in 1907, they said it's still going to be too small. They started planning, and in 1921 they built this current building that we're in. We host over 400,000 people a year, basketball games, banquets, proms, weddings, some funerals. It's the event center for our community.
But you still relate it all around agriculture.
It still is celebrating agriculture. We have a fall festival every year called the Corn Palace Festival, and again, we bring 10 to 15,000 people here that week. It's concerts, it's midway rides, it's food, it's a celebration, and that's what the Corn Palace Festival always has been. It used to be in later September, October, because when the harvest was truly done, people would come from the farms and the ranches to the town and celebrate the harvest. And that's what the Corn Palace was built around, celebrating agriculture and the harvest. And of course, over the years, our festival has moved a little bit, and we've diversified to hosting other events all year long now.
Well, in agriculture, we have to diversify, right?
Absolutely.
And so hosting these events here, and you're celebrating agriculture and the farmer, does the Corn Palace do anything back to the local community as far as local farmers, anything like that you guys do?
Well, so we're using rye, we're using some sorghum, millet, milo, sourdock, which is basically a slough grass type of weed, and of course 12 different colors of corn, including yellow field corn. So we have a local farmer who grows our corn. It takes about 70 acres to grow the corn. Of course, we need brown corn, we need black corn, we need green corn. It can't cross-pollinate, so these fields have to be separate enough so they don't cross-pollinate. And then he harvests that old style. So he picks that corn, separates it into bins, small ears, big ears, and so on. The rye straw is actually shocked. So people haven't used shocks around here since the 20s and 30s, and we still get shocks here. So he has a working machine that he cuts the straw and shocks it and brings that to us, and we apply it to the building. So obviously we have, ag is king in South Dakota. And so we celebrate ag anytime we have people here. But as far as, you look at some of our sponsors, we have CHS and our technical school and our implement dealers are all sponsors of the Corn Palace and big supporters. But yeah, we celebrate ag. But as far as integration of ag, we don't have a lot of that in the building per se, other than we do a lot of education about corn.
And I assume that you probably have school kids that go through here, and you do some educational stuff with
tours,
school groups.
Tours all year long. This time of year, it's more retired folks, but in the spring of the year, schools from many, many miles come and take a tour of the Corn Palace, absolutely.
And speaking of the farmer that grows corn, I was looking out there on one of the boards, and it says takes about $130,000-$140,000 to decorate the palace each year?
So our decorating budget is about $150,000, 275,000 ears of corn. So as these ears come to us, they have to be trimmed on the ends, split in half, and then nailed to the side of the building to make the murals. And of course, our mural theme changes every year. Our current theme is Under the Big Top 2022, so it's a circus theme centered around a shrine circus, which we've had since the 50s. But we're rolling things over to famous South Dakotans in 2023.
And I have to ask you, was McGovern from here?
Yes, he's from Mitchell, South Dakota.
I knew he was from South
Yeah,
Dakota.
he was a professor at Dakota Wesleyan University. He lived here for a long, long time. And in fact, our university just celebrated what would have been his 100th birthday last week on their campus.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yes, and of course, George McGovern, a friend of ag, but also the World Food Program, right? And which modern school lunch programs are a result of that program, George McGovern's.
So as I'm looking behind you at some of these murals, is there a local artist that helped put these together?
So what you're seeing on the inside of the Corn Palace, we have two different designers. The ones on the ends are Oscar Hauer originals. Oscar Hauer was is a Crow Creek Native American from about an hour and a half from here. He's of course passed away, but he's a world famous artist. He was the designer of murals for 22 years. Okay, so the ones on the ends he has designed. So you see on the one end we have Mount Rushmore. We have us shooting our state bird, which is a little bit unique, celebrating agriculture. On the other end, you can see that we have the Native American theme. We have Father DeSmet, South Dakota, blessing the Badlands. Over the stage is a completely different design. That's a more modern artist by the name of Cal Schultz. And that's the year of reconciliation with our tribes in South Dakota. So on the far left, you see that the tribes are wary of the settlers coming to the prairie. On the far right, you see that they've come together, celebrating with their children playing and the gentlemen selling their beverage. Over the stage, you'll see that on the left, we have the settler. On the right, we have the Native American. We have the stick-built homes. We have the teepees. We have a beef animal. We have buffalo. We have schoolhouses with the books for the culture, the education of the white person. And of course, nature was the educational system for the Native Americans. And then in the middle, we've got the handshake of those two cultures coming together, which is timeless, we think. It's still very applicable today.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So on the outside of the building that you decorate, is that artist as well that helped do that?
Correct.
Or do
So
you guys...
currently, Dakota Wesleyan University graphic design students design our mural. So our board gives them a theme, and we say, so we wanted this circus theme. And we gave them ideas like elephants and clowns and tigers jumping through fire rings and big top tents and ringmasters. And they give us all these ideas that we pare down to the ones we pick. And then they size the murals based on the colors that we need to fit the outside.
Well, it's wonderful because you do bring in younger school children all the way up through college are helping to do this, and then local artists that come in and help.
Well, the artists are more college aged, I suppose they're more traditional age college students, but as those that come here to see it, all ages, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You kind of incorporate your educational portion, but it also goes to college age that are helping with, not that the younger ones are helping with the murals, but the...
Well, and we have some components when we do tours of, for example, why corn was important to the settling of South Dakota, why it was important to the Native Americans, So, yes, we do integrate a lot of agricultural education in our tours of the Corn Palace.
And so I'm going to go back to a little bit of personal history about yourself. So you grew up as a farm kid and...
Yeah, dairy farm. We also had hogs and beef cattle. My parents have passed away, but they milked for 65 years. And my nephew is now on that farm, a fourth generation Greenway, and they raise hogs, beef cattle, of course wheat, alfalfa, corn, soybeans, about 10 miles from Mitchell.
Well, and that's as we know, the family dairy farms are going away a lot here in the U.S.
Yes, and I stay pretty current, with dairy, and it's been a tough battle, and it's I call it the McDonald's model. The profit margins are so slim, you just have to have millions and millions and millions of pounds sold to make a living, and those dairies of 75 to 100 cows just aren't feasible anymore because you just cannot make enough money to support a family or two.
Well, and the population in America has grown too, so we have more and more mouths to feed.
Everybody needs to eat of some kind. They need protein in some form. Yes, absolutely.
2% of the population feed the rest of us.
Right, isn't it amazing?
Yes.
Yep. And then we complain about the price of it sometimes.
That's right. But they really don't know how much time and effort and money and hours you put in as a
my
farmer.
family's harvesting right now, and the soybeans will go into, most of their soybeans will go to increase livestock and hog production. so for protein.
All right. Well, I want to thank you again for spur of the moment dropping in and letting us talk with you.
Gentlemen,
Appreciate it.
appreciate it. Yeah, and I'm happy we can make it work. And